Well, there's a bit of shocking news, really. A quite well-known speaker at Speaker's Corner, chap called John Sherwood, age 71, was arrested yesterday for allegedly making homophobic statements after preaching from the Bible. He was then kept in a police station, apparently overnight, and ultimately he was not charged. But the police have not apologised, and indeed, an investigation has shown that the police behaved quite properly, even though they stopped a man exercising his free speech and took him away and locked him up for the night. This is pretty dreadful in my view. I'll link to the Daily Mail article underneath in the description, and I'll just read you a little bit of it here. Christian pastor arrested. Now, he wasn't arrested at Speaker's Corner, he was arrested in West London, preaching, exercising his rights to free speech in Britain. And as I say, arrested for making alleged homophobic statements. Claiming he was treated shamefully and doing what my job description says, presumably his job description as a Christian. John Sherwood, 71, was led away in handcuffs, questioned in a police station and held overnight after being accused of making homophobic comments outside Uxbridge Station in West London, according to the Daily Mail article. The grandfather claimed he was left bruised after police pulled him from a mini stepladder he was using and cuffed his hands behind his back. And a member of the public actually filmed this, and you can see footage of the way he was treated online. Quite disgusting and disturbing, actually. He says, Mr. Sherwood says, I wasn't making any homophobic comments. I was just defining marriage as a relationship between a man and a woman. I was only saying what the Bible says. I wasn't wanting to hurt anyone or cause offence. I was doing what my job description says, which is to preach the gospel in open air as well as in a church building. When the police approached me, I explained that I was exercising my religious liberty and my conscience. I was forcibly pulled down from the steps, which he was, you can see that, and suffered some injury to my wrist and my elbow. I mean, he's an elderly chap, so it's entirely possible. I do believe I was treated shamefully. It should never have happened. Mr. Sherwood, who preaches at an independent evangelical church in North London, was arrested under the Public Order Act for alleged causing alarm or distress. He was released without charge, but a file has now been passed to the Crown Prosecution Service for a review. The Metropolitan Police said a member of the public flagged down patrol officers and alleged Mr. Sherwood had made homophobic comments. Onlookers can be heard shouting, "He's an elderly man, take it easy with him," before officers put him in handcuffs and took him to a police car. There's an organisation called Christian Concern, who are a campaign group, lawyers mainly, are standing up for him on the grounds of free speech and religion. Now, I happen to know this individual. I don't know him well, but I certainly know from Speaker's Corner. And it is the case that whenever I walk by, he does make a point at shouting at me and calling me a pig, a swine, and so on. Because I used to be a Christian, I'm no longer a Christian. He's not a very pleasant man, at least not in that role. Maybe he's very nice to his children, his cat, and his neighbours, maybe. But he is not a very gentle person. He's quite harsh. But I would say this in his defence: what he is saying is the teaching of Christianity. The head of Britain, our monarch, our sovereign, the Queen, our head of state, is also the head of the Church, and the Church of England officially teaches exactly what Mr. Sherwood has been preaching in public. So the official head of state and he are saying the same thing. And yet he has been arrested. Now, you can say, oh, well, he's been released, but that's not the end of the story. This action by the police, and they've not apologised for it, creates a chilling effect on people, on churches, both and Muslims and Orthodox Jews and others as well. I happen to know a senior imam in a important London mosque, I won't say which one or who he is, who told me confidentially that he will not preach on this subject on Fridays in the sermon, because of precisely this problem that he could be arrested for preaching the teachings of Islam, which happen to be the same as the preachings of Christianity and the preachings of Judaism as well. In fact, they are the traditional teachings of all religions, as far as I can see. So it's already had this chilling effect where people self-censor. They basically suppress their religious faith. Even when they're preaching in a context of a mosque or a church to their own folk, they won't preach on it because of fear that either they'll be arrested or that demonstrators will come in and behave violently and intimidatingly. And I witnessed this myself in a church, St. Michael's Church in Chester Square some years ago, when outrage came in and disrupted a service, a lawful service in the Church of England, by shouting, abuse, screaming, blowing whistles, and deliberately terminating the proceedings because the church upheld biblical standards of sexual morality. Whether or not you agree with these views, of course, the church's views, is not really the point. If we believe in tolerance and religious freedom, then Christians and Muslims and others should be permitted to preach without being molested or arrested, handcuffed, taken to a police station, held overnight, intimidated, for simply doing what in this country for the last nearly 2,000 years has been a basic religious right, the right to preach the faith. So this is very, excuse me, this is very disturbing. I notice no one has spoken out apart from this Christian Concern group. No MPs, Parliament, government, no ministers, Home Secretary, head of the police. No one has said anything about this at all. So that silence, of course, is complicit with this breach of basic liberties to preach the truth. And it's, we should be angry, we should be upset, but it's the way the West is going. It's not just a problem of England, of course. This is the same virtually everywhere in the West, with a possible exception of the United States, who at least have a constitution which protects human rights, the right to free speech, on this subject. Even though there, of course, it's, there are issues with it there too, being affected by the woke politics, the ideology that insists that we must agree with certain definitions of sexuality and gender, or you're basically shut down and punished or shamed or attacked physically or otherwise. Anyway, so this is a very sad day that this should have happened. I suppose the only bit of good news is that he wasn't ultimately charged, but the damage has been done. No one from the government, the state, has spoken out in defence of this man, Mr. Sherwood, and his right to speak, which suggests basically the police haven't apologised, and it's gone to the CPS, so who knows what they will say. This is the state of modern Britain, and it's a shame. It brings shame on our country, shame on our traditions, shame on our alleged advocacy and defence of liberty, which we preach at China, we preach at Iraq, we preach at other countries. But an elderly man preaching Christianity, exercising his free speech, is arrested, and the government says nothing. And that's the world we live in, I'm afraid. Till next time.